Yes, this is our video number 3. And in here, we will just go and perform exercise number 3. But in our last video, we just created the necessary VNets and a storage account. You can see that storage account creation got successful. Now let's go and perform exercise 3. In here, we will be assessing our Hyper-V for migration by using this particular migration tool. For that, the task 1 is deploy, configure Azure Migrate appliances. For that, what should I do? I'll go connect to this machine, that Hyper-V machine I have already taken RDP. Now let's go and search for migrate. So this is the migrate and we are already here. Now let's go to discover using appliances. So what we will do, we will just download necessary file and then we just run that file. So that will act like a appliance. So that appliance we will be running in our Hyper-V. So we'll create one more VM and that VM will be running our appliance. So this appliance is having the necessary tools, which will be having a Windows server and then the necessary tools to do this particular migrate operation. Let's go and access. Okay, fine. Let's go and deploy and configure the migrate appliances. So in here, we just clicked on discover. Yeah, this is done. This is done. Now let's go and yes, we are going with Hyper-V because our workload is running on Hyper-V machine. So I'll just go with this Hyper-V. It's not a physical server and give the appliance a name. And let's generate a key. It'll take a couple of minutes. Let us wait. Yeah, the key generation got succeeded. So it will not just only create the key, it will be also creating a couple of Azure resources as well. So you need to make sure that the user who is creating this particular or who is doing this particular activity has necessary permissions. Now let's say that the key is generated. So this is the key we will use when we just install this migrate appliance in our on-prem environment. So now let's download this VHD file. It'll take a couple of minutes. Let me pause and restart once the download is successful. Yeah, the download is successful. Now let's continue. So it is in downloads. I need to unzip and then I need to place this file in this particular folder called VM. Let's do that. Let me get inside this folder, downloads. Let me extract. Yeah, the zip file got extracted. Let me just copy this and take it to VMs folder and I paste it here. So this is the folder related to the first VM which we are running, and this is related to the appliance. Yeah, copy is successful now. Now let's go and do the next task. Okay, fine. Then in this remote desktop connection, we need to access server manager. In here, let's go and open Hyper-V manager. Okay, so we have created one VM and that is running. Now let's go and create another VM, but this we are not going to create, we are just going to import the virtual machine because it's a virtual appliance. That is what we downloaded it from Azure portal. We created migrate and from migrate we generated a key and from there we just downloaded a VHD. So that VHD file is having Windows Server running and also the necessary tools running so that it can act like an appliance. And that will help us migrating a workload from on-prem to Azure. Okay, for that, let's go and click on import. And in this page, directly next, And then in here, we need to just locate the VM. I'll go to the F drive and VM, and then this appliance VM to be selected. Okay. Okay, let's reduce the number of processor to 4. Sorry, it should be 4. And let it be nested switch. And say next. And say finish. Now, let's go and rename this. It was given some name, so I'll just rename it. The name was not successful. Let's again copy this text. Okay, better to copy. Okay, let me just try to access the type text clipboard. It's not listening to my words. It's doing something. Yeah, let me key in this names 801 L07A VMA1. Yes, this is the name I'm supposed to give. Okay, fine. Rename is successful. Now let's increase the memory space. So I'll just go to settings, select memory. I set the memory size to 4096 and say apply. Okay. And now let's go and start this machine. Once it is started, then we can just go and connect to that VM. Yeah, let's connect to that. So what we have done during this particular step, we just extracted VM and then we registered the VM and we have configured this VM with 4 vCPUs and then the RAM also we set to 4 GB. And this is the virtual appliance, migrate appliance also you can think. Now we are just starting it. When we start, it will boot and launch the appliance configuration manager. So it will start and then it will open that appliance configuration manager. And from there, we need to do some login process before we start actually migrating it. Yeah, let's accept the agreement and key in the password. So if I want to connect to this virtual machine, what is admin username and password? So that's what we are setting up here and say finish. Yeah, now everything is set. We have set the username and password. Now let's go and log in. For that, let's press Ctrl Alt Delete and key in the password. So once the VM gets loaded successfully, we get this appliance configuration manager opened in a browser tab. And from there, we need to start configuring this manager, appliance manager. You can say yes over here. I need this key. Let me just copy this key to the clipboard. So what we have done, like we created a project for Azure Migrate and we generated a key. And from that key, we also downloaded a VHD file. And that VHD file is what is running in this VM. So this VM is a migrate appliance VM. Now we need to register this VM to migrate. So this VM has to get registered with this particular migrate. For that, we need to do this particular task next. So now we need to agree and then we have to give this key. So by copying this key and registering here, we are doing this particular connectivity. Yes, let's agree. It's checking the connectivity to Azure and then check time. Is it in sync with Azure? That's also done. Now let's key in the migration key here. So for that, you can't copy paste it. Better to go to clipboard and type whatever you have it in the clipboard. So it will type automatically. It's nothing but the key is getting added here. Now let's verify. The key is proper, and then the verification will be succeeded. And the appliance is getting auto updated. It will take around 5 minutes. Let me pause the video and start once it is done. Yeah, the new update got installed. Let's refresh once. The next process is to log in. We need to have a user ID which has necessary permission to do this particular process, appliance registration, and then do the migration. So let's log in. So we will log in using that admin account itself. I'll just copy this code and say next. I need to key in the Azure credentials so that you can find it in your resources. So this is the username and then the password. And I can say continue, never. Yeah, it's signed in successfully. Yeah, the login process got succeeded. So it will take almost 10 minutes because the key validation will take place and then the token generation and exchange between your on-prem environment and the Azure will take place. And then this appliance compatibility checking, and then a lot of things will be happening behind. Even the user who logged in has the necessary permission to do the migration. So a lot of things will happen. That's why it takes almost 5 to 10 minutes. Now let's go and add the credential because this is to provide the Hyper-V host. So here we will be adding the Hyper-V host credential, and through this, the Hyper-V VMs will be discovered. If you want, we can just give some friendly name for this credential and give the username and password. So this is the VM's username and password, the Hyper-V VM, what we have created, and say save. Never. Okay, this step is done. Now next is within the browser window on the appliance configuration manager page. So provide Hyper-V host bar cluster details. And in here, let's go and add discovery source. In add discovery source, like we need to select add single item. Okay. And ensure that the discovery source drop-down menu is set to Hyper-V host bar cluster. Okay. And then in the map credentials drop-down list, let's select this is the credential what we have added in the previous step. And then the IP address, let this be this one. So is the IP address of the network interface of the Hyper-V host attached to the internal switch, and say save. The next step is that we need to just go and enable this. So previously disable the slider, okay, but we just need to enable it. And then just go and click on start discovery. Yes, the discovery process is over. Now, the next thing is that we need to configure, run, and view an assessment. If we want, we can just go to Azure portal and then we can see all the discovered inventory over there. Now, let's continue with the next task, task 2, that is configure, run, and view an assessment. Now, let's go with this one. Okay, virtual machine connection window to the appliance. Okay, from here. Okay, not this VM. So we should go to the hypervisor machine. So let's minimize this appliance for time being. And here, let me adjust. I can close this. Now we just did this step. Now we can close this. And then we can just refresh once. Hmm. Yeah, you can see the discovered servers are two and appliances are one because we installed that migrate appliance, right? So that is one. So everything is intact. So like everything can be tracked from migrate. Now let's see what's there here on the basics tab. Okay, before that, I need to go and on Azure migrate. Okay, server database and web applications. Okay, in the Azure migrate. Okay, assessment, select assessment. Yeah, select assessment and then Azure VM. So we have to go and select Azure VM because the workload what we need to migrate is this type virtual machine. It's not something else. Okay. On the basics tab of the create assessment, and then we need just leave all those things. Okay, assessment settings, we will go and edit. In this page, we need to give these informations, target location. Let this be East US. Target location, and then the storage type to be premium managed disk. Reserved instances, no reserved instances. It's none. Okay. And then savings criteria, sorry, sizing criteria, it to be as on premises. And then the VM series, you're supposed to select DSV3. If you are not finding DSV3 in the list, you can even select DSV4 and continue. Comfort factor to be 1. And then offer pay as you go. Yes, I don't need any reserved instances. All discount will be 0%. That's okay. Uptime 31 days, 24 hours. That's okay. And we can save. So on next, on the basics tab of the create assessment page, click next, select server and assess. And let's give the assessment name. Ensure that create new is selected. You select or create a new group. So create a new one. And then give the name, group name, assessment group name. Let it be this. and this is done. And then in the list of VM, you're supposed to select VM. So this is the VM we want to migrate, not the appliance one. Appliance one will help migrating all other workloads. Now I have other workload as only one workload. Let's select that one and say review and create assessment. I can say next. Okay. It's the review and create, and we can just say create assessment. Yes, back on Azure Migrate server database and web apps page. Select refresh once. Yeah, it got refreshed. Now under assessment total, we have got one. So let's select that link. Select the newly created assessment. So this is the newly created assessment. See this, you can just review and take a screenshot of this.